The first 50 women in the Bible. Who were they? Eve, the first woman created by God. She lived in the Garden of Eden with Adam. Interesting fact, she was the first person to eat fruit from the forbidden tree. Sarah, Abraham's wife. She laughed when she was told she would have a baby at an old age. Interesting fact, she had a baby named Isaac when she was 90 years old. Hagar, Sarah's servant, who had a son named Ishmael with Abraham. Interesting fact, Hagar was the first woman in the Bible to run away, and an angel helped her. Rebecca, Isaac's wife. She was very kind and agreed to help water a stranger's camels. Interesting fact, she had twins, Esau and Jacob, who had very different personalities. Leah, Jacob's first wife. She had many children, but Jacob loved her sister Rachel more. Interesting fact, she was not as loved as her sister Rachel, but was very fruitful. Rachel, Jacob's second wife, whom he loved very much. She had two sons, Joseph and Benjamin. Interesting fact, Rachel died giving birth to Benjamin. Bilhah, Rachel's servant who had children with Jacob because Rachel was not able to have children at first. Interesting fact, her children were Dan and Naphtali. Zilpah, Leah's servant who also had children with Jacob. Interesting fact, her children were Gad and Asher. Dinah, Leah, and Jacob's daughter. She was the only daughter mentioned among Jacob's children. Interesting fact, Dinah's story shows how important it was for women to be treated with respect. Tamar, Judah's daughter-in-law who tricked him into having a child with her when her husband died. Interesting fact, she is part of the family tree of King David and Jesus. Rahab, a woman who helped Israelite spies hide in her home in Jericho. Interesting fact, she is known for helping the spies escape and later became part of Jesus' family tree. Ruth, a kind woman who was a widow and chose to stay with her mother-in-law Naomi. Interesting fact, she ended up marrying Boaz and is also in Jesus' family tree. Naomi, Ruth's mother-in-law, who helped guide Ruth in finding a new husband. Interesting fact, Naomi's family was a big part of the story of Ruth. Bathsheba, the wife of King David and the mother of King Solomon. Interesting fact, she had a son named Solomon who became a very wise king. Abigail, a wise and beautiful woman who was married to a man named Nabal. Interesting fact, she stopped David from being angry and doing something he might regret. Jezebel, a queen known for her evil ways and worship of false gods. Interesting fact, she was very strict about worshiping other gods and was opposed by the prophet Elijah. Esther, a queen who saved her people from being harmed by the king's advisor. Interesting fact, she became queen because of her bravery and helped save many lives. Deborah, a prophetess and judge who led the Israelites in a time of trouble. Interesting fact, she was one of the few women who had a leadership role and helped defeat the enemies of Israel. Jael, a woman who helped Deborah by killing an enemy general. Interesting fact, she used a tent peg to defeat the enemy and was praised for her bravery. Miriam, Moses' sister, who helped protect him as a baby and was a prophetess. Interesting fact, she sang a song of praise to God after the Israelites escaped from Egypt. Zipporah, Moses' wife who helped him during a difficult time in their journey. Interesting fact, she saved Moses' life by performing a special ceremony. Lydia, a businesswoman who sold purple cloth and became a believer in Jesus. Interesting fact, she invited Paul and his friends to stay at her home. Phoebe, a deaconess who helped the early church by delivering Paul's letter to the Romans. Interesting fact, she was trusted with an important job of delivering a letter. Priscilla, a Christian who taught about Jesus along with her husband, Aquila. Interesting fact, she was very knowledgeable about Jesus and helped teach others. Euodia, a woman mentioned in one of Paul's letters who had a disagreement with another woman named Syntyche. Interesting fact, Paul encouraged them to work out their differences. Syntyche, another woman mentioned in Paul's letter who had a disagreement with Euodia. Interesting fact, she and Euodia were both important members of the early church. Jemima, one of Job's daughters who was known for her beauty. Interesting fact, Job's daughters were given an inheritance, which was unusual for women at that time. Keziah, another daughter of Job who was also known for her beauty. Interesting fact, Job's daughters were praised for their beauty and received a share of their father's wealth. Karen Hapuk, Job's third daughter who was also known for her beauty. Interesting fact, like her sisters, she received an inheritance and was recognized for her beauty. Huldah, a prophetess who helped find and interpret the book of the law during King Josiah's reign. Interesting fact, she was consulted by the king to help understand God's message. Noadiah, a prophet is mentioned in the Bible who opposed Nehemiah's efforts to rebuild Jerusalem's walls. Interesting fact, she was not supportive of Nehemiah's work. Shiphrah, one of the Hebrew midwives who helped save baby boys from being killed in Egypt. Interesting fact, she and Puah disobeyed Pharaoh to protect the babies. Puah, another Hebrew midwife who helped save baby boys from being killed. Interesting fact, her bravery helped protect many babies and keep the Hebrew people growing. Hannah, the mother of Samuel who prayed for a child and promised to dedicate him to God. Interesting fact, her prayers were answered and Samuel became a prophet. Peninnah, Elkanah's other wife who had children but was unkind to Hannah. Interesting fact, she made Hannah feel sad, but Hannah's prayers were still answered. Martha, a woman who welcomed Jesus into her home and was known for her busy nature. Interesting fact, she learned the importance of listening to Jesus over being too busy. Mary, Martha's sister who sat at Jesus' feet and listened to his teachings. Interesting fact, she chose to spend time with Jesus rather than worry about chores. Mary Magdalene, a woman who was healed by Jesus and became one of his followers. Interesting fact, she was the first to see Jesus after he came back to life. Salome, a woman who was a follower of Jesus and witnessed his crucifixion. Interesting fact, she also went to Jesus' tomb to anoint his body with spices. Joanna, a woman who was healed by Jesus and helped support him and his disciples. Interesting fact, she was one of the women who found Jesus' tomb empty. Susanna, another woman who helped support Jesus and his followers. Interesting fact, she was one of the women who traveled with Jesus and provided for him. Elizabeth, the mother of John the Baptist and a relative of Mary, the mother of Jesus. Interesting fact, she was old and had prayed for a child, and her prayers were answered with John. Mary, the mother of James, a woman who witnessed Jesus' crucifixion and went to his tomb. Interesting fact, she is often mentioned alongside other women who were close to Jesus. The widow of Zarephath, a woman who shared her last meal with the prophet Elijah. Interesting fact, her oil and flour never ran out during a time of drought because of her faith. The Shunammite woman, a woman who made a special room for the prophet Elisha and was later blessed with a son. Interesting fact, her son was raised from the dead by Elisha. Sapphira, a woman who, with her husband Ananias, lied about the money they gave to the early church. Interesting fact, her story serves as a warning about honesty. Lydia, a merchant who became one of the first European converts to Christianity. Interesting fact, she invited Paul and Silas to stay at her home. Dorcas, Tabitha, a woman known for her good works and charity. Interesting fact, she was brought back to life by Peter after she died. Chloe, a woman who informed Paul about the problems in the Corinthian church. Interesting fact, she played a role in helping Paul address issues in the church. The woman at the well, a Samaritan woman who met Jesus at a well and learned about living water. Interesting fact, she became a witness for Jesus in her town. I hope this helps make the stories of these biblical women clear and interesting.